Imagine you are standing in the middle of a harbor. The year is 2017. MIT engineers, some of the smartest people alive, are staring at a chunk of concrete pulled from the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea. This concrete is nearly 2,000 years old. And here is the part that stopped them cold. It was stronger than the day it was made. Not just intact, not just surviving, stronger. Modern concrete, the stuff holding up your buildings, your bridges, your highways, starts cracking within 50 years. This ancient chunk had been sitting underwater for 2,000 years, and it was getting better with time. The engineers looked at each other and asked the same question. How and why did we forget? That is what this video is about. Not just Roman technology, but the deliberate, calculated, empire-protecting secrecy around it. The things powerful men chose to bury, the knowledge that died with an empire, and the lessons hidden inside that ancient rubble that could change how you see the world today. Stay with me, because what you are about to hear will make you question everything you thought you knew about human progress. Welcome to Capture Smart. I am so glad you are here today. On this channel, we take the most fascinating, mind-bending stories from ancient history and bring them to life, not just as history lessons, but as real-world wisdom you can actually use. If you are new here, welcome. Hit that subscribe button right now, because I promise you, once you hear what the Romans actually knew and what they deliberately kept hidden, you will never look at the ancient world the same way again. And if you are already part of our Capture Smart family, thank you. You already know what we do here. Let's get into it. But before we start, I want to ask you something. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your city, your country, even just your time zone in the comments. I read every single one. Let's see how far this story travels today. All right, let's begin. And I'm warning you right now, do not close this video before the end, because the final secret we reveal today, the one the Romans almost took to their grave forever, it will completely change the way you think about power, knowledge, and who controls what you know. Here we go. Let us start at the bottom of the sea. For centuries, historians and engineers looked at ancient Roman structures and assumed they had simply gotten lucky. Good weather, good stone, maybe good workmanship. But in 2017, a team from MIT, UC Berkeley, and laboratories across Europe decided to run real tests on Roman marine concrete, the kind used to build harbor walls, piers, and sea platforms across the Mediterranean. What they found shook the engineering world. Roman concrete does not just resist seawater, it reacts with it. You see, Roman builders used something modern engineers had never considered. They added volcanic ash, a very specific type called pozzolana, from a region near Naples called Puteoli. Today, you might know it as Pozzuoli. When this ash mixes with seawater, it creates a chemical reaction. Over time, decades, centuries, it grows a mineral called aluminum tobermorite inside the concrete. These crystals form inside any crack that appears, filling it, sealing it, making the structure stronger than before. The ocean was not destroying Roman concrete, the ocean was building it. Now here is where it gets darker. This formula was not an accident. Roman engineers knew what they were doing, and Emperor Augustus, around 30 BC, classified the formula. He restricted the pozzolana volcanic ash supply to state-approved builders only. Private citizens could not access it. Foreign engineers could not replicate it. It was a state secret, protected like a military weapon. And when Rome fell, when the bureaucracy collapsed, when the knowledge networks broke down, the formula went with it. For 1,500 years, engineers built with concrete that crumbled, cracked, and failed. They had no idea that 2,000 years ago, someone had already solved the problem perfectly. Today, our best modern concrete, reinforced with steel, engineered by computers, will begin showing significant deterioration in 50 years. Some formulas fail in 30. The Pantheon in Rome, a dome of pure, unreinforced Roman concrete, has stood for nearly 1900 years, and we cannot build it today. Not without steel, not without modern tech. We literally cannot replicate it. Let that sink in. We went backwards, and someone made sure of it. Has there ever been a moment in your life when you realized you were doing something the hard way, only to discover someone had already figured out the easy way, but kept it hidden from you? Comment below. I want to hear your story. Now let us talk about the sea. In 264 BC, Rome declared war on Carthage, the greatest naval power in the ancient Mediterranean. There was one enormous problem. Romans could not swim. Or more accurately, most Roman soldiers had grown up farming inland. They got seasick, they were terrified of deep water, and Carthaginian sailors had been dominating the Mediterranean for centuries. The Roman Senate looked at their generals and essentially said, "Figure it out." What happened next is one of the most creative military pivots in human history. Roman engineers looked at the problem differently. They did not try to outsail Carthage. They asked, what if we didn't have to? What if we could turn a sea battle into a land battle? And so they invented the corvus. Picture a 36-foot wooden gangplank mounted vertically on the front of a Roman ship. At the bottom of this gangplank, a massive iron spike shaped like a bird's beak, which is where it got its name, corvus, the crow. When a Carthaginian ship drew close, Roman soldiers would drop the corvus. The iron spike would slam into the enemy deck, locking the two ships together. And suddenly, the most feared naval battle in the ancient world became a street fight on a floating platform. And street fights were what Rome did best. The Battle of Mylae in 260 BC was a massacre. Rome, with virtually no naval tradition, captured or sank 50 Carthaginian ships. The Carthaginian commander barely escaped with his life. Rome had just defeated the greatest naval power of their age, not by becoming better sailors, by refusing to play their game. But here's the twist that history books often skip. The corvus worked almost too well. The device made Roman ships top-heavy, dangerously unstable in storms. Within the next few years, massive Roman fleets were caught in Mediterranean gales. Over 100,000 sailors drowned. By 255, Rome quietly retired the corvus. The device that had won their greatest naval victory was too dangerous to keep using. It was never officially documented why. No public announcement, no formal military report, just silence. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is admit a great idea has become a liability. And sometimes the most dangerous thing in the world is a secret weapon that can kill you just as easily as your enemy. Let me take you somewhere quieter now. Imagine it is the year 100 AD, winter in Roman Britain, what we now call England. The temperature outside is hovering just above freezing. Rain hammers the stone roads. The wind cuts through everything. You walk into a Roman villa, and it is warm. Not like a fire is warming one corner of the room, warm everywhere, evenly. The floor beneath your feet is gently heated. The walls radiate a steady, comfortable heat. You take off your cloak and feel completely comfortable, even though outside it is genuinely miserable. You are experiencing the hypocaust, Roman central heating. 2,000 years before your landlord charged you $200 a month for radiant floor heating, Rome had already perfected it. Here's how it worked. Roman builders constructed floors on small pillars of brick, leaving a gap of about 2 feet beneath. They built hollow channels into the walls. Outside the building, slaves tended a furnace, burning wood continuously. The hot air traveled under the floors and up through the walls, releasing heat evenly throughout the entire space. Roman bathhouses maintained temperatures around 85 degrees Fahrenheit, even in Britain, even in winter. They did not just heat rooms, they heated buildings. They heated public spaces. They built what was essentially a district heating network in some cities. But here's the part that hurts. Most Romans never felt it. The hypocaust was legally restricted. Sumptuary laws, regulations about luxury, prohibited ordinary citizens from having it in their private homes. Only the ultra-wealthy elite, government buildings, and public bathhouses had access. If you were a common Roman, a blacksmith, a merchant, a soldier's wife, you warmed yourself by a fire in a clay pot on the floor and hoped your house did not fill with smoke. The technology existed. The solution was available, but access was controlled by law, by class, by wealth. And when Rome fell, the knowledge of large-scale radiant heating did not just disappear, it was never widely distributed enough to survive. Medieval Europe went back to open fire pits in the center of rooms. People froze, buildings filled with smoke, respiratory disease was rampant. For nearly 1,000 years, Europe lived in the cold, not because they lacked the technology, but because the technology had only ever been given to the powerful. Think about that for a moment. What technology exists today that only the wealthy or powerful have access to, that the rest of us won't get for another generation? Drop your answer in the comments. I genuinely want to know what you think. You've probably heard that Rome had aqueducts, but I don't think most people understand just how extraordinary they were. At its peak, the city of Rome had 14 major aqueducts. These were not small channels. Some stretched hundreds of miles from mountain springs to the city center, cutting through hillsides and tunnels, crossing valleys on massive stone arches, running through cities in pressurized underground pipes. Every single day, this system delivered approximately 300 million gallons of fresh water to the city of Rome. That's roughly 300 liters of water per person per day, more than many cities in the modern developing world receive today. But the engineering that most people do not know about is the inverted siphon. Roman aqueducts could not go uphill. Gravity moves water downward, always. So when an aqueduct needed to cross a deep valley, sometimes 500 feet deep, Roman engineers faced a problem. Their solution was breathtaking in its simplicity. They ran sealed lead pipes down into the valley, across the valley floor, and up the other side. Because water seeks its own level, the basic physics of fluid pressure, the water would push itself back up as long as the exit point was not higher than the entry point. The pressure at the lowest point of these siphons reached 200 pounds per square inch. That's more pressure than most modern household water systems. Near Lyon, France, ancient Lugdunum, archaeologists found the Gear Aqueduct. It uses 9 separate siphon systems. In total, it delivered 10,000 cubic meters of water per day to the city, crossing terrain that would challenge a modern civil engineer. And Romans built this without computers, without steel, without any measuring tool more complex than a wooden cross with plumb lines called the groma. Now, who controlled this water? The state. An official called the Curator Aquarum, literally the water curator, managed the entire system. Unauthorized tapping of an aqueduct was a capital crime. Every legitimate connection was registered, measured, and taxed. Water, in Rome, was both a public good and an instrument of political control. A neighborhood could be punished by reducing its water supply. A political ally could be rewarded with a new branch line. Control the water, control the people. And you wonder why, even today, water rights are one of the most bitterly contested political battlegrounds in the American West. Rome figured that out 2,000 years ago.
It is the summer of 55 BC. Julius Caesar stands on the western bank of the Rhine River, the boundary between Roman-controlled Gaul and the wild Germanic territories beyond. He has a problem. He needs his army on the other side, not to invade permanently, but to send a message, to show the Germanic tribes that Rome could reach them anywhere, that no river was protection, that no border was safe. But crossing the Rhine with boats would take weeks. Boats could be cut off, boats could be burned, boats were vulnerable. Caesar called in his engineers. What they built over the next 10 days is still studied in military engineering schools today. A 1,400-foot wooden bridge across one of the most powerful rivers in Europe. In 10 days. The design was elegant in its brutality. Massive wooden piles were driven into the riverbed in pairs, angled into the current so that the force of the river actually pushed them together, making them stronger the harder the water pushed. Crossbeams connected the pairs. Planking went on top. Caesar marched his legions across, spent 18 days demonstrating Roman power on the far bank, then marched back. And then, the part I love most about this story, he burned the bridge down behind him. He did not just cross a river. He crossed it, demonstrated his power, and then destroyed the evidence so perfectly that the Germanic tribes could not study the engineering. Caesar knew that the bridge was not just a military asset, it was an intellectual asset. The design, those angled piles that grew stronger under pressure, was a military secret, and Caesar protected it the way he protected any weapon. His engineers were the only ones who had seen the plans. The plans were destroyed with the bridge. 2,000 years later, military bridging units still use a modular pontoon concept that echoes the same principles. They just do it with aluminum and hydraulics instead of timber and muscle. Have you ever done something brilliant and then deliberately kept quiet about how you did it? Or been on the other side, watching someone solve a problem elegantly but refusing to share how? Comment below. Caesar would approve. Let us take a break from military secrets for a moment and talk about fish guts. I know, stay with me. Across the Roman Empire, there was a single condiment that appeared on nearly every table, from a soldier's ration kit to an emperor's banquet. It was called garum, and it was fermented fish sauce made from the intestines, blood, and offcuts of small fish packed in salt and left to decompose under the Mediterranean sun for months. The smell was so catastrophically bad that Roman law banned garum factories from within city walls. And yet, Romans put it on everything. Meat, vegetables, desserts, they mixed it into wine. It was the ketchup of the ancient world, except it cost more than some people's monthly salary. Premium garum from the Spanish coast, a town called Cartagena, sold for 500 sesterces per small jar. That is equivalent to roughly 2 months' pay for a Roman soldier. People paid it. Why? Modern food science has the answer. Garum was extraordinarily rich in glutamates, the same compounds that make aged Parmesan cheese, soy sauce, and MSG taste so intensely satisfying. Glutamates trigger what the Japanese would not name for another 2,000 years: umami. The fifth taste, the deep, savory, can't-stop-eating-it flavor that makes food feel complete. Romans discovered umami 2,000 years before the word existed. They just called it that stuff that makes everything taste better. And here is the cultural twist that nobody talks about. The best garum producers were family businesses. Their specific fermentation ratios, the exact fish, the exact salt concentration, the timing were family secrets. Fathers passed them to sons. The formula was never written down publicly. When the empire fell and the trade networks collapsed and the Spanish garum factories closed, the precise formulas vanished. It took Southeast Asian cultures completely independently through their own culinary evolution to rediscover fermented fish sauce. Vietnamese nuoc mam, Thai nam pla. Same principle, parallel discovery, 2,000 years later. The secret almost survived. Almost. But secrets are fragile things. They require people, and people are mortal.
This next one is a love story, and a tragedy, and a warning. Somewhere in the coastal regions of what is now Libya, in the ancient Greek colony of Cyrene, there grew a plant called silphium. It looked like a tall fennel plant with golden flowers and a thick, resinous root. And for hundreds of years, from around 600 BC through the 1st century AD, it was one of the most valuable plants on Earth. Not because it tasted good, although Romans did cook with it, not because it had healing properties, although it was used medicinally. Silphium was valuable because of what it prevented. Ancient sources, including physicians and scholars of the time, documented silphium as a highly effective contraceptive. Women could drink it as a tea, apply it as a topical preparation, or use it in other ways. And the documented success rates, by ancient standards, approached what we would consider modern pharmaceutical effectiveness. Without hormones, without prescriptions, without any technology beyond a plant and knowledge of how to use it. The Roman Empire had effective natural contraception, and they knew it worked. So what happened? Demand exploded. Silphium could not be cultivated. Every attempt to grow it outside its native habitat failed. It only grew in one small region of North Africa, in specific soil, in specific conditions. Imperial authorities imposed strict harvest quotas, trying to protect the supply, but the demand was insatiable. Wealthy Romans wanted it, merchants wanted to sell it, and the quotas were not enough. By the 1st century AD, the last recorded silphium plant was delivered to Emperor Nero as a curiosity, a botanical relic of something that used to exist in abundance. It was extinct, gone, forever. Scientists today are still searching the Libyan coast for related species, trying to isolate whatever compound gave silphium its properties. The active ingredient remains unknown. The mechanism remains a mystery. We destroyed the only source of knowledge before we understood what made it work. Rome did not just lose silphium. Rome consumed it into non-existence, and in doing so, lost a pharmaceutical breakthrough that took the modern world nearly 2,000 years to replicate through different means. The lesson Rome never learned, and that we are still learning, is that some secrets need protection not from enemies, but from our own appetite.
Here's a question for you. If you needed cataract surgery today, a condition where the lens of your eye clouds over, slowly stealing your vision, what would you expect from modern medicine? A quick procedure, local anesthetic, a laser maybe, home the same day. Success rate? Around 90 to 95%. Now here is what Roman surgeons achieved in the year 100 AD. A 90% success rate, using a bronze needle. No anesthetic, no sterile operating room, no laser. The procedure was called couching. A surgeon, trained over years of apprenticeship, would insert a thin bronze needle through the white of the eye and use it to push the clouded lens down and back out of the line of sight. The patient would regain usable vision immediately, 90% of the time. That success rate was not matched by modern Western medicine until 1970. We had 1,700 years of supposedly advanced civilization between Roman couching and the moment we caught back up. 1,700 years, and we were slower. How was this possible? Because Roman surgical knowledge, like everything else in this story, was concentrated and controlled. Medical knowledge was passed through tight networks of master-apprentice relationships. Texts existed, but they were expensive, rare, and not widely distributed. When the empire fell and the networks collapsed, when master surgeons no longer had apprentices, when medical schools closed, when the institutional knowledge structures dissolved, the technique nearly vanished. Medieval European medicine devolved to bloodletting and prayer, and blind people stayed blind for 17 more centuries. All because knowledge lived inside human beings instead of widely accessible systems. All because the system that created expertise was not designed to survive the death of the system.
So here is what I want you to take away from today. Not just the facts, although I hope they blew your mind. Not just the history, although I hope you feel it differently now. I want you to think about the secrets in your world. The knowledge you are hoarding, afraid to share because it gives you an edge. The things you know that others need but cannot access. And I want you to think about the secrets being kept from you. The technologies, the systems, the formulas that exist right now that are classified, restricted, reserved for the powerful, that you and I will only access decades from now, if ever. Rome was not the last empire to make these choices. It will not be the last. But the individual, the single human being who decides to learn, to share, to teach, to preserve, is the most powerful force against the loss of knowledge that has ever existed. You, watching this right now, are part of a chain of knowledge that stretches back 2,000 years and forward into a future we cannot see. Do not be the person who breaks that chain. Share what you know, teach what you've learned, and never ever assume that the powerful will preserve what the world needs. That is the real lesson of Rome. And now, the quiz answers you have been waiting for. Question 1. True. Roman concrete genuinely gets stronger underwater. Question 2. B. Aluminum tobermorite crystals grow inside cracks and seal them. Question 3. C. 90%, matched by modern medicine in 1970. Question 4. C. 10 days. Julius Caesar's engineers build a 1,400-foot bridge in 10 days. Question 5. B. Plumbum, which is why your plumber is called a plumber. How did you do? Drop your score in the comments. And if you got all 5, you are officially an honorary Roman engineer. And one last thing. Where are you watching this from? Your city, your country, your corner of the world? I want to see where the story of Rome reached today. Drop it in the comments right now. If you made it this far, thank you. Genuinely. This kind of story takes real research and real care, and knowing that you stayed to the end means everything. If this video gave you something, a fact you didn't know, a thought you hadn't considered, a question you want to explore, share it. Send it to someone who would love it. Share it on your social media. Help this story survive. Because that is, after all, the whole point. Subscribe to Capture Smart if you have not already. Hit the notification bell so you do not miss what comes next. Because next time, we are going somewhere even more extraordinary. Stay curious, stay sharp, and I will see you in the next one.